and welcome to the Good Health Podcast. I'm your host, Nicole Good, a registered nutritional therapy practitioner and functional medicine practitioner. Join me as we explore thyroid, brain, and fatigue conditions with positivity. From Hashimoto's to multiple sclerosis, chronic fatigue to adrenal dysfunction, I've got you covered. With expert advice and tips to help you take action now and inspiring real patient stories from successful individuals who refuse to let their health hold them back. Start your journey to good health today. And don't forget to come and join the conversation on Instagram at good_health. That's GOODE. Or visit my website at nicolegoodhealth.com to find out more. Welcome to the Good Health Podcast. In today's episode, we're exploring the fascinating world of thyroid health. Today, we've got a really important topic to discuss. So I want to talk to you about the significance of understanding and tracking your thyroid antibody results. So grab a cup of tea, sit back, and let's dive in. So what is hyperthyroid versus Hashimoto's? Hyperthyroidism and Hashimoto's thyroiditis are two very related, but also distinct conditions that affect your thyroid function. So hyperthyroidism refers to an underactive thyroid gland that doesn't produce enough thyroid hormones. And this can lead to symptoms such as fatigue, weight gain, cold intolerance, depression, that feeling of sluggishness. And hyperthyroidism can have various causes, including Hashimoto's thyroiditis, but it can also result from other factors. Hashimoto's thyroiditis, on the other hand, is an autoimmune disease in which the immune system is mistakenly attacking the thyroid gland, and this causes chronic inflammation and damage. Over time, this inflammation can impair the thyroid's ability to produce hormones, which leads to hyperthyroidism. Hashimoto's is characterized by the presence of thyroid antibodies, such as TPO antibodies and TG antibodies. These antibodies are indicative of the autoimmune nature of the condition and can help to differentiate it from the other forms of hyperthyroidism. So you can be hyperthyroid and have Hashimoto's, or be hyperthyroid and not have Hashimoto's. But if you've got Hashimoto's, you likely will end up with hyperthyroid. So in summary, while hyperthyroidism refers to an underactive thyroid gland, Hashimoto's thyroiditis specifically denotes the autoimmune cause of hyperthyroidism. Diagnosis of Hashimoto's is typically made through the presence of these thyroid antibodies, and that is what distinguishes it from other forms of hyperthyroidism. And it's really important to know which one you have. And in clinic, I'm always surprised. I see so many people who are not sure. They don't know whether they've never been told if they've got Hashimoto's. They've never actually asked. They don't realize that there's a difference. So why is it important to know whether you do have hypo or Hashi's? Research suggests that approximately 90% of individuals who are diagnosed with hyperthyroidism have Hashimoto's thyroiditis as the underlying cause. But many people don't know this. So why does it matter? Because if you only work on the thyroid function, but you ignore that underlying autoimmunity of Hashi's, you're only dealing with one part of the issue. That underlying autoimmunity can cause permanent damage to the thyroid. And you can also develop other autoimmune diseases if the autoimmunity is just left to run riot in the body. The reason for this is that autoimmunity is really loss of immune tolerance, which means that your immune system has become less tolerant to foods, chemicals, toxins, and tissues in your body. This immune tolerance is across your whole body, not just one gland. So not just your thyroid, not just one tissue, not just one organ. It's across your whole body. So Hashimoto's isn't really just a thyroid disease. The autoimmune aspect makes it a whole body disease. And any tissue in your body is now susceptible to an autoimmune attack. So why wouldn't you want to know if you've got that autoimmune aspect so that you can work on that as well as your thyroid? And this is why in functional medicine, we take a whole body approach. So before we delve into the importance of thyroid antibody testing, let's understand what these antibodies actually are. So when it comes to thyroid health, particularly hyperthyroid, there's two key antibodies that are often measured. So TPO antibodies, thyroid peroxidase antibodies, and TG antibodies, thyroglobulin antibodies. These antibodies are produced by the immune system and they target specific proteins within the thyroid gland. The presence of elevated TPO or TG antibodies indicates that the autoimmune response against the thyroid gland is happening. So in other words, it suggests that your immune system is attacking your own thyroid tissue. However, it's important to note that these antibodies are not the things that actually cause the damage to the thyroid. The antibodies bind to the thyroid tissue, but it's the T cells from the immune response that come in and attack the thyroid tissue. So why is this important? Because it means that higher antibody levels don't necessarily indicate more tissue destruction. So actually measuring T cells would be a better marker. But the autoimmune aspect that antibodies indicate is a crucial piece of the puzzle in the thyroid health that often goes unnoticed. So the significance of addressing the autoimmune component of thyroid disease rather than solely focusing on thyroid function is vital. And by understanding and tracking your thyroid antibody results, you can gain really valuable insights into the progression and the management of your condition. Now, unfortunately, conventional medicine and some healthcare systems, depending on where you are in the world, such as in the UK, the NHS, may not routinely measure thyroid antibodies. And this is a really significant limitation because it neglects a fundamental aspect of thyroid health. Many individuals will go undiagnosed or receive incomplete treatment due to a narrow focus on thyroid function alone. And thyroid antibodies can actually show up years before your TSH levels become abnormal. So the antibodies may help us actually catch the dysfunction earlier on before the thyroid becomes damaged. It's really essential to recognize that thyroid function is not solely determined by the levels of TSH, the thyroid stimulating hormone, which is the most common marker used in conventional medicine. While TSH can provide valuable information, it only represents one part of the complex thyroid pathways. So by relying solely on TSH, we may be overlooking other parts of these pathways, such as the conversion of T4 to T3 or the functioning of receptors on your cells around the body, as well as the underlying autoimmune issues that can contribute to this thyroid dysfunction. So understanding your thyroid antibody results allows both you and your healthcare provider to take a proactive approach to managing your thyroid health. And by identifying the autoimmune activity early on, you can actually implement strategies to modulate the immune response and potentially slow down the progression of thyroid disease. Now, you might be wondering about the stability of these antibodies. And the truth is, antibody levels can fluctuate over time. So they may increase during times of inflammation or stress, and they can also decrease with appropriate interventions. And that's why regular monitoring of the thyroid antibodies is essential to be able to assess the effectiveness of your treatment protocols, of your lifestyle modifications, anything that you might be implementing to benefit your thyroid. And many people come to me and they're desperate to get their thyroid antibody levels back to normal. But the reality is that people with Hashimoto's may actually never get those levels right down. So some may see them decrease and others won't, even when they're in remission. But what we can do with them is if your levels go up from your baseline, so not compared to somebody else's antibody level results, but where your antibody level usually sits, then we can identify a possible flare-up. And if your baseline goes down from your normal level, then we can see a possible state of remission. So you can't compare your antibody results to other people, but you can monitor your own and how they're fluctuating. And the reason that you can't compare to other people is that somebody with an antibody reading of, let's say, 1,000 could actually have less of a T cell response than someone with a reading of 300. So remember, it's the T cells that are causing the damage, not the antibodies. The antibodies are just flagging the tissue on your thyroid. The T cells are actually causing the damage. So if you've got the reading of 1,000 antibodies, but you've got less of a T cell response because you've balanced your immune function, you could actually be better off than somebody who's got a reading of 300 antibody count, but they're not managing their immune function, and then they've got a higher T cell response. So it's really important to understand the role of the antibodies and how the immune system works. And also to understand that you can't compare your results to somebody else. You can only measure your results and track your results compared to yourself, your own baseline, your own previous test results. And that's why it's important to track your results. So what we're then looking for is If you are the person who usually has an antibody level of 300, but that suddenly goes up to 1,000, that's something that we can track and compare. Because what that's saying now is that you are having a flare-up of your autoimmunity, of your Hashimoto's. So if you've got elevated antibodies, the focus is on calming and balancing the immune function. And lots of things can be triggering your immune system. And it's really important to get to the root cause of these. And these will all be different for different people. So when it comes to addressing the autoimmune aspect of thyroid disease, there's various strategies that we can explore. So regularly in clinic, I'm looking at things like dietary changes, gut health, stress management techniques, working on your brain health. The thyroid's very, very interlinked with the brain, balancing your hormones, supporting immune modulation, and so much more. So we really take a whole body approach with functional medicine. And working with somebody who is really knowledgeable in the thyroid and in autoimmunity is really going to help you to develop this personalized approach to address both your thyroid function and also the underlying autoimmune aspect if you've got Hashimoto's. So understanding and tracking your thyroid antibody results are paramount in managing your thyroid health effectively. It can really help us to gauge how your immune function is balanced, whether you're experiencing flares, whether you're going into remission, or whether you're balanced. And by acknowledging that autoimmune component, so by knowing whether or not you have Hashis or hyperthyroid, we can take a really holistic approach to your thyroid care. We can then potentially prevent further damage to the thyroid gland and also help to prevent further autoimmune diseases developing. So it's really important that you don't overlook the significance of thyroid antibodies, even if they're not routinely measured in your conventional medicine blood tests or in our healthcare system in the UK, like the NHS. So if you want to know more about understanding your thyroid results, or you want to start tracking your results, you can download my free guide and tracker. So there's a tracker included in that, so you can keep a note of all your test results. And we're going to link that for you in the show notes below. And if you want to start taking some steps to support your thyroid health, you can get access to the Thyroid Freedom Bundle. So this is 21 guides with really actionable steps for you that you can take to start supporting your thyroid for just £19 now. And we're going to link that in the show notes as well. I can't believe it, but that is season 1 of the Good Health podcast. I'll be back very soon with season 2. Don't forget, you can message me with topics you would like covered on Instagram at good_health. And that's good with the E on the end. And we'll link that below in the show notes. Come and follow me over there as well so we can keep the conversation going. My DM door is always open. So until next time, wishing you all lots of good health. I hope you enjoyed this episode of the Good Health podcast. Do share the episode with anyone who you think it may benefit or who may enjoy it. And help me spread the word by rating the episode or leaving a review. If you want more, you can find other episodes in the series on your podcast app or sign up to my free newsletter. Not only will you get information on new episodes launching, but we cover lots of health topics with the Ask Nicole section where you can send in your questions, my favourite recipes, my favourite products, tips and tricks to help you on the road to good health, and much more. You can sign up free of charge at nicolegoodhealth.com/newsletter, also linked below. I hope you have a lovely week. Don't forget to hit subscribe, and I'll see you next time.